Welcome to episode 9 of the podcast Ghosts, Demons, and Murder. Oh my. My name is Hayden Crook, and I will be your host for today's episode on Eugene the Mummy. This is from the official Sabina, Ohio website for to persuade people to move there, visit there, whatnot. It says officially established in 1831 and incorporated in 1859. Sabina is nestled between Wilmington and Washington Courthouse at the crossroads of routes 22-3 and 729. The village, primarily a farming community, is within an hour of Columbus, Cincinnati, Dayton, Chillicothe, Xenia, and many other municipalities. With nearby access to railways, an air park and state routes, opportunity for business development is excellent. Because of the neighborly, kind, accepting attitudes of the village residents, Sabina is a great place to raise a family and enjoy all stages of life. It's very little wonder it is also called the Eden of Ohio. Attractions include our public pool, a family park located next to the township sports park, sit-down dining at Traditions Restaurant and Kim's Classic Diner, Moose Lodge 1200 or 1244, excellent churches, and a wonderful school system. Summers are often accompanied by live bands at various events, an annual car show, and more. With local businesses and industries, employment opportunities are all around. I've spent over 50 years here. Come spend a day in our town talking to folks, and you may come to love it like I do. And that is all written and quoted by the mayor, the current mayor of Sabina. Let's see. Source one. So this was a local newspaper that covered this story. Let's see. So the author wrote, recently I'd heard a story about a small town's peculiar claim to fame, and it really interested me. I wanted to share it with those who had never had the chance to read it before. Sabina, Ohio is home to one of the strangest, most morbid tales of rural Appalachia. It's a story of mystery and an extremely unusual local hero. The story of this mummy man is both bizarre and complex, from his death to the 35 years that followed. Let's start from the beginning. An African American man in his mid to late 40s was found dead from natural causes on a road near Sabina. He was alone and without identification, believed to be a wanderer in search of a job. Townspeople claimed to have seen him walking in town the day before, appearing to be ill. The only thing in his pocket were $1.40 and a slip of paper with the address 1118 Yale Avenue, Cincinnati. Upon investigation, authorities arrived at the address only to find a vacant lot. The identity of the man was still a complete mystery, so they decided that the name of a nearby neighbor, Eugene, would work for the time being, at least until they figured out who he was. Why name him Eugene after the neighbor? We can't be sure. However, the real Eugene was probably a little disturbed that they named a corpse after him. Eugene the Mummy Man was brought to Sabina's Littleton funeral home and embalmed. They set the mummified man in a brick shed near a bus stop so that people could come by and identify the body. The typical 30-day period of viewing passed with no luck, but the Littleton family held on to the hope that someone would recognize Eugene. Pretty soon, though, Eugene became a permanent resident of Sabina. Somehow, having an embalmed dead guy permanently housed in a shed by the funeral home didn't strike people as that strange. In fact, they loved their odd town mascot. Eugene had a couch to rest on, was dusted and cleaned, and his clothes were changed when they got dingy. The local kids inevitably pulled pranks and tricks on poor Eugene throughout the years, from putting him in different places to stealing his gold teeth. He became something of a local legend, and Sabina citizens and people from neighboring towns spread the news of their special story. Over a period of 35 years, It is estimated that Sabina's Mummy Man was viewed by 1.5 million people. Eugene had his share of meddling kids, but the tradition of using Eugene in high school pranks finally went too far when in 1964, Eugene took a trip to the Ohio State University. He was set on a bench outside the campus in the middle of the night to surprise the students. I would definitely not like to be the one to find that in the morning. The Littleton Funeral Home was notified, and Eugene was sent back to Sabina, because obviously that's where you call when a mysterious mummy shows up at your college. After this stunt, it was decided that maybe dead people should actually be buried. A plot in the local cemetery was bought, and a stone with Eugene, found dead 1929, buried 1964, was prepared. Eugene finally settled down in a nice grave, although the inscription is incorrect. He was actually found in 1928, not in 1929. It was a simple but dignified committal service and was a concluding chapter of 35 years of mystery. The Sabina News Record reported about the occasion. Thus ended the era of Eugene, the Mummy Man of Sabina. Although Eugene was never recognized and his real name is still unknown, he became a local celebrity and roadside attraction for many years. I decided to visit Eugene's final resting place, for real this time, in the Sabina Cemetery. I took the pilgrimage out to Sabina on a Sunday while the sun was setting. After some searching and researching, I found Eugene's plot under a large shade tree next to the road. His tombstone is flat to the ground and completely ordinary looking, except for the hundreds of coins scattered around the inscription. Tiny red Buddha figurine, a large silver coin with Bible verses, and a dove, and several smooth stones are among the trinkets and gifts also on the gravestone. The coins are a symbol of people who have visited over the years, tokens of remembrance of Eugene. The other trinkets from various religions are gifts of respect for the dearly departed. It is amazing to see how many people knew of Eugene, his incredible story, and cared enough to visit. Some of the pennies on top of the layers of coins are dated 2018, so I know he's had visitors even recently. After a long look at Eugene's grave, I took a short trip to the place he spent 35 years in, an old brick shed at the Littleton Funeral Home. Just down the road, the small shed is now quiet, and there's nothing there that suggests it once housed a famous body. The door was locked, but I peeked in the back window. Disappointingly, there's nothing but boxes and normal shed stuff in there. I took several pictures and then headed home. That concluded my investigation of Sabina's mummy man Eugene, the strange corpse that fascinated people for many years. I have no doubt that as long as people remember him, Eugene will be visited by many, from curious travelers to nostalgic locals. As bizarre as his tale is, he amused and intrigued generations of people, and he will not soon be forgotten. And the author of that article was Isabel Warner, who back in 2018 was a freshman at Fairfield Local High School in Leesburg. Then source two is unidentified wiki. Says the victim was found near Borum Road beside US Highway 22. The Littleton Funeral Home was notified and Dr. C.E. Kinsel was called and he declared the victim died of natural causes. A piece of paper with an address of 1118 Yale Avenue, which belonged to a vacant lot in Cincinnati, Ohio, was found with him. Since the closest person who lived near the address was a man named Eugene Johnson, the victim was nicknamed Eugene by Littleton's mortician, Allen Moon, and owners Roger and Harry Littleton. Eugene's body was embalmed at the Littleton Funeral Home in hopes someone would recognize him. No one recognized him, although Moon stated there was one person who recognized him but did not say anything. Additionally, some of the locals saw Eugene the day before he died slowly walking through town. Between his death and burial in 1964, Eugene became sort of a statewide interest, with a conservative estimate of over 1.5 million people seeing Eugene in his own little home in the side yard of the Littleton home, especially during holidays and summer weekends. At least 1 million people, including apparently famous celebrities, signed the register books kept at the building. Even charter buses passing through Sabina would pause while the groups went to see Eugene. The Littletons gave Eugene a new suit every year to make him presentable. The Littletons had to build a wire screen around the room to protect him from curiosity and souvenir seekers. Additionally, Eugene was subject to abduction by pranksters. One time he was taken as far as Ohio State campus in Columbus, Ohio. It was not until October 29th, 1964, when Eugene was buried in Section 3, Lot 33 at the Sabina Cemetery. And I know some of that was repetitive details that that girl wrote about in that article for the paper, but I did include this because there was a little bit more detail, like that they had to put a protective barrier around the shed so people didn't try and steal Eugene again and that kind of stuff. And just that there was more about going to the address that was in his pocket and excuse me, and other little details like that. Source three is Roadside America, which is the last source for this. It was a short story. Someone posted this initial story on Facebook, and it caught my curiosity. So I went and researched it, and I thought it was interesting and I wanted to share it. So source three is Roadside America. Um, and somebody that actually lived in town commented on this forum on this page, and they titled it Eugene the Mummy, Childhood Pal. They said, when I was a kid, my sister and I used to visit our great aunt in Sabina, Ohio. She lived across the street from the Littleton Funeral Home. We played with a little girl who lived at the home. We used to play around the coffins and were always fascinated by the body on display out in a small brick building in the yard. Eugene was what they called him. His body was laid out on a platform behind bars so you couldn't touch him. We were children and didn't think much about why he was there, but we made many visits to see him. I remember staring at him for long periods of time because he was just so interesting to look at. We had not experienced a death yet to anyone we knew and didn't fully understand what death was. We didn't have much to do, and where else could you go to look at a dead body up close? The author of that little forum part was Marjorie Ray, and that was in July 23rd of 2009. Um, Brittany in April 1st of 2018 posted on this forum, said it took some driving around, but this is how I got to the grave of Eugene the Mummy. As you enter the cemetery, take the first road on your left. Follow that road, then turn down the second road on your right, across from Charles Allen's mausoleum. Take the next right, and there will be an intersection of three roads. Take an immediate left. The grave is under the second large tree on your left. Then on the website, somebody, I'm not sure who, they titled it Official Directions. It says um, Sabina Avenue or Sabina Cemetery, North College Street to Polk Avenue, then turn right to the cemetery. Grave is located in section 3, plot 33, under an oak tree next to the road. Just a side note, while I was doing my research, interestingly enough, the town of Sabina, Ohio, has its own historical society, but I could not find any information about Eugene Johnson on their website. I also tried the official Sabina, Ohio webpage, but no information could be obtained. So, at the beginning of this, that girl in that article said it was the town's claim to fame, but I couldn't find any information on their historical society page, the Sabina, Ohio webpage. I just thought it was kind of interesting. So that's the story of the Mummy Man of Sabina, Ohio. I think it's definitely interesting. Imagine just growing up and there's just an embalmed corpse just sitting on a in a brick little building, a shed, and it's just there and everybody just thinks it's normal. I think it's interesting. I mean, this was like the 1920s, so I mean, things were different back then, but I just thought it was interesting. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Ghosts, Demons, and Murder, Oh My. As always, I can be reached via email at haydencrook8@gmail.com. Feel free to let me know what you would like to hear discussed. If you have stories you want me to share, I can do viewer story or listener stories. I can do that kind of stuff. So just email me at haydencrook8@gmail.com. Thank you.